Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shifting Gears, Episode 2. Wanted to introduce, today I have the fortunate pleasure of having three of my top agents on our team from the Ronnie A team. I'm excited to have them. We're going to talk about a few things that we learned over the time of being on the team, lessons learned, some strategies, the goods and bads of real estate, and what would they recommend for you to do as a realtor moving forward in this business. Today I'll start off with Gus Ahmad, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and thanks, Gus, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So, Gus Ahmad, going about a decade now in my career in real estate. So, yes, there's absolutely ups and downs, and I'm excited to be here. Let's talk about it.
That's awesome. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Fatima?
Fatima Bazay. I've been a real estate agent since 2006, but didn't actually become an agent, I would say, until I joined Ronnie's team 2 years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Billy?
Yeah, Billy Sobe. This is my 5th year. Very excited to be here and talk about, what we got planned. And yeah, let's do this.
I love it. Love it, you guys. So let's start off with the first question I love. What is the number one thing you learned from working with myself? Who wants to be the first one to join that one?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Yeah, the number one thing I've learned is organization, I'd say.
Okay.
Before getting into real estate, I was just kind of like, I do things on the fly, right? Never really wrote things down, never really put things in my calendar. So being on a team, that really helped, putting things on my calendar, know what I got going on. You can't always remember everything you tell yourself you want to remember. So actually writing things down and having it all mapped out definitely helped me out for sure.
So, I'm just going to piggyback off that, but mine's really, really short and sweet. So, hey, Ronnie, good morning. How are you? Are you organized? All right, goodbye. That's it.
So pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same thing, right? Ronnie's biggest thing is treat this like a 9 to 5. If you treat real estate like it's a part-time job, it becomes part-time income, right?
100%.
So you come in every day, you do your follow-ups, and it's always stay organized. And I'll go back to that. I think that was one of the first videos I did with you. Stay organized, Fatima. Yeah, so I'm still working on that. But that's definitely one of the main things is treat it like a normal 9 to 5 job, because if you don't, you're going to fall short like a lot of agents in our industry.
With consistency.
Exactly.
I mean, we all have busy lives, right? Whether we're married or not married, we have kids, not kids. At the end of the day, we try to put so much in our brain that we can't. Just sooner or later, stuff's going to fall out. And it's not worth putting in your brain if something else could accommodate what you want it to accommodate, just literally on your phone or on your computer every day. So calendars, right? I preach all the day, and with your calendar, you do your follow-ups, right? With your follow-ups, you do your calls. With your calls, you do your emails. It's just a consistent every day about what do I got to do to stay organized. And this is how I stay focused. No matter how bad of a night I have, the next morning I come in and I know if I follow my process, I will be laser focused again on what I need to do and what I not need to do, right?
Yeah, because life's going to throw stuff at you.
100%.
And that's an uncontrollable factor. So,
Yeah.
When I first started, never really used to utilize the calendar and time blocking, and I would double book a lot of things.
Right.
Hey, can I see this house at 3? Yeah, sure, let's go. But then not knowing I already had something at 3, so just doing that over time really, really helps. Absolutely.
It's funny. I'll interview agents and I'll be like, hey, show me your phone. Okay, cool. Show me your calendar. I don't really know where it's at. It's like, wow. So it's almost like people are just oblivious to, like you said, they just, I'll be there at 3, no problem. And then they forget they committed 2 or 3 different times, right?
And little do you know, it just makes you look unprofessional, right? You can lose a client that way. You can lose, a lifetime of referrals just from being unorganized.
So being organized is absolutely just being polished.
Yeah.
That goes with the whole consistency, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about how annoyed we get if someone shows up to their appointments late, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
30
because
minutes.
we have it so scheduled every 15-minute increments, that when someone ruins that for you, you're now delayed on the rest of your appointments, and it makes you look unprofessional.
Throws off your route.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How many times do we go through that, and then you're like, oh, they're not organized, they don't care. There goes my next appointment because now this first one's going to be late. Yeah. Go ahead.
We hold ourselves to a higher standard too.
Yeah.
Which I
is
take
not
a
a
lot of
bad
pride
thing.
in, right? Because that's why we are who we are,
Yeah.
right? I agree. You know, and is there anything else, guys, that lessons learned that you take away from you've learned and from being under Ronnie's wings?
So yeah. So is it going to be on with Ronnie or is it life? Okay. So let's talk. Yeah. Let's talk about this. So we're on this podcast now. One of the biggest in the early stages of real estate, right? When you and I worked together, I did call you a few times, actually probably many times, and we would talk about something, and it would bother me, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this might be falling apart. It could be appraisal, it could be a private.
Yeah.
And I do remember something that resonated with me. You just said, listen, the better agent, right, or the expert agent knows how to work through the kinks, right? Yeah. Doesn't bother your day, doesn't bother your month, and that was important to me, right? So just figure it out. Even though I reached out to you, right? Just use the avenues. If it's title, reach out to them, right? If it's appraiser, pull your comps, right?
Yeah.
So that's something early on, and again now it's starting to really resonate with me. Working around the transaction of real estate, right? Working through the hoops.
Yeah. I guess sometimes we try to, like you say, sometimes wear all hats, and sometimes it can wear us out for sure.
Absolutely.
So kind of delegating things to where they need to be done. It takes a lot off our plates.
Because everybody knows realtors have the easiest job. We just open the door and here's the primary bedroom.
Yeah, I mean,
couldn't be farther than the truth.
It's so important that we utilize all our resources, right? And as realtors, they are our resources, from the title company to the mortgage company to the appraisers. They really indirectly work for us, and they need us more than we need them, right? So when it does come across an issue, we want to utilize them. Right? They're the subject matter experts. We're just going to help console and consult where needed, and then step in and come up with resolutions and be done with the situation, right?
It actually takes a village to complete a real estate transaction. It's not just showing houses.
No, you're not just opening the door and saying, look.
There's so many moving parts that people just don't understand.
I couldn't agree with all you guys more. Okay, let's jump. Anything else? Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the hardest part of your career, and how did you push through it, being a realtor?
I can start with that.
Let's go.
So obviously, I'm not the most forward person. I've never been an aggressive person. It's just getting past that hurdle for me of being confident and showing that I'm confident, even though I probably know more than 90% of the agents in this business, right? Because I handled transactions for so long. I worked on the back end. I've worked every aspect of real estate when it comes to short sales and foreclosures and every part of it. But like,
you've seen it all.
I've seen it all, right? But my biggest thing was just getting in front of the client and then knowing how to sell to them without feeling too salesy. And then I realized that I don't need to be salesy. I can still be that person who I always was, where I was always the person who cared about people and cared about, getting them into a new home, and like taking that transaction side of things and translating it into the sales side of things, and realizing like people are just people. And you don't have to sell them on anything. All you have to do is just make them feel comfortable enough with you to want to work with you. So that was my biggest hurdle, is just getting past that part.
It's funny, you hit a trigger with me as I'm listening to you. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll honestly just give this advice because I'm guilty of it. We all are. So it's called being in your head.
Right.
You have to get out of your head, because we sit there and we overanalyze and overthink. And that person that you're actually approaching might not even be thinking that you're selling them. They're just a human being breathing the same air, right? So yes, that's one trait it's hard, but we got to overcome that, just being in our head.
Yeah. They say overthinking, creates problems that weren't even there to begin with. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say for myself, one thing that I got better with tremendously as my career has been, growing and growing, is just learning not to take things personal,
which is hard.
Very, very, very hard. I'd say that's probably the number one thing I got better at.
How many cousins have bought homes from somebody else, Billy?
How many cousins, friends, At the end of the day, you just got to learn to let it go. If it's meant for you, it's going to happen. If not, I've learned to just take it on the chin and live with it.
It's the hardest part, I think, of our job, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, just understanding that, listen, I did whatever I can.
Yeah.
and unfortunately they didn't see it the way I seen it, it's okay. The next guy I hope will, right? So you can't take it personal.
From my point of view, it's their loss, not mine.
Yeah.
You know, I changed my mindset to think that way, and it's helped me a lot. So,
and you have, and I agree with your mindset, Billy.
It's kind of wild too. Maybe just 30 minutes ago, I was having a conversation with one of our teammates, right? And you probably overheard, but there's always something going on with another person or myself that people don't understand. So getting back to the taking it personal aspect, right? We don't know what they're going through, right? So that's where we build that patience, right? That understanding, right? Makes sense.
100%.
And it's not just in real estate, in anything we do, right?
Yeah.
You just got to be careful how you approach every situation because you just don't know where their mindset is, right? Like, you know.
And don't assume.
It could just be a harmless thing, and then they might be so offended from it, right? You know, especially in the biggest part of real estate I take away from my mentoringship is listening. Like your client wants to be heard, right? They want you to listen to what they're saying to you and taking it to the great assault that this is what I want. And it's our job to understand that and then give them what they want, right? And if we can't give them what they want, it's our job to educate them why we can't give them what they want, right? And sometimes that's the hardest part of our job, right? Hey, I want a 4-bedroom home with 2 baths and an attached garage for $150,000, and I want to live in Dearborn, right? It's not going to happen, right? So you could teach them nicely and say, hey, listen, I'll go back and I'll send you everything that's available, and then call them later on and say, hey, I'm really sorry at this point there's nothing, but there is something for $350,000. So then they start, smack, let me revisit my mindset, right?
Learn to crawl before you walk.
Learn to crawl before you walk, exactly. You know, and that's something that is a hard lesson, right? Because you feel like you're being a jerk. Sometimes you're like, man, I really want to sell you a house, Gus, but it's not practical, right? And you don't want to insult them because they'll find another realtor that might like, oh yeah, no problem, I got you.
They'll tell them anything they want to hear.
They'll tell them anything they want to hear.
And then they'll come back to you.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us, the Ronnie A team, so stands out is because we're really good at that stuff, right? We listen and we give them the feedback that they want, right?
Yeah. Little do we know, people would respect you more when you tell them the truth and set the right expectations versus just telling them whatever they want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, even when it comes to listings, right? I had a listing appointment the other day, and the guy wanted, I don't know, 450, and there wasn't a comp over 385, and he was being really aggressive with me, and I literally grabbed my folder and I said, I'm really sorry. I just don't believe in listing a house high so I could bring you a lower offer. I would like to list it lower to bring you a higher offer. And over talking time and time and educating him on the comps and everything, he understood. But the mindset of some people are just like, I want this much because I think my house is worth it. A lot of emotions we have to deal with daily with clients.
I was going to say, with all due respect to anybody, your house, my house, if we're selling our property, we think it's worth this much.
I always think it's the nicest one on the
block. And that's fair, right? It's fair to think that.
People get emotionally attached to their house, right?
Absolutely.
And they feel like, I put in all this work, I did all this, but great, but there's still not a comp anywhere near that we're going to be able to, get to. So it's just bringing them back to reality without making them offended. So it really is a people business.
But it comes down to education, right? If you're educating your client, right? Like my mother-in-law is like, hey, I want to list my condo. Okay, no problem. But I want high pricing. Well, why? She's like, well, I put new appliances. You have to educate them, right? Appliances don't sell houses.
Right. That's like, I have a pool. It's $50 grand more. But lo and behold, the appraiser is going to say it's worth $6,000. I'm going to give you credit for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we have our rules, right? Kitchens, baths, roofs, bedrooms, central areas, right? Windows. Yep. That's what sells houses, right? Everything else is considered cosmetics. I don't care what it is in the house, right? So education. And so that where we stand out is we're very knowledgeable. We understand what we're doing from top to bottom, and the training we get is amazing, right? And our training is not me, it's us talking to each other.
We feed off each other all the time. I mean, we have a group chat.
It's our masterminding. It's our group chats. It's, hey, I have this situation, and we all look out for each other, right? So I think that's what excels us more than others, that we do have that bond among ourselves.
Just a quick scenario, kind of like you brought up. So now every single buyer or seller or investor, when I meet them now, it really is natural and honest. I literally say, listen, I know sometimes people like to give their opinions. So I'm not going to give you opinions. I'm going to professionally advise you, and I'm going to give you facts. So going back to the whole, my house is worth 480, but really the comparables are 420.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay out the facts, and it would be my pleasure to sell your house, honestly. But if you're telling me that you want 480, 500 and it's not doable, so you're setting me up for failure, but I'm setting you up for failure as well.
Because you failed.
Right.
Now he failed.
And I don't, and I, with all due respect, I won't take that, that listing, even though listings are great, right?
All right. Next question. So if you could give one piece of advice to a new agent, what would it be?
I'd love to take that one.
Go ahead, guys.
It's not as easy as it
One
looks.
advice.
Yeah, it's
No.
no, that would be my advice to a new
Oh.
agent. It's not as easy as it looks.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like people just see the closing pics and
Oh,
or
yeah.
the just listed, just sold, but they don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes. All the, missed birthday parties, missing out on time with the family.
They just see the one piece of it,
Right.
Yeah.
of the whole spectrum, one piece.
Yeah, they
Closing.
they see the closing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they see you making the money, but not everything that led up to that. So
Having dinner set up with the wife at 7, you get a call at 6:30. I want to see a house at 7.
Right.
yeah,
Do you push
Yeah.
the dinner or do you go show the house? You
don't
know?
don't don't push the dinner.
Don't push the dinner. Yeah.
Good answer, Billy. Good answer.
I have a lot of uncomfortable conversations about this.
Yeah.
Like God bless my wife. Honestly,
Yeah.
she's very she understands, right? But not all significant others
No.
understand.
Mhm.
No.
Not at
And like I
all.
said, leaving your dinner to take a call.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, again, and I always say, they're not buying a pair of shoes; it's a house.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta give
It's the
them our
biggest
attention.
purchase of their life.
And
One of the
it's-
biggest purchases of
And
anybody's
that's-
life,
and
right?
it's not a
So
cliche.
you have to take the time, and you can't just blow them off, right? Because as soon as you blow them off, they're gonna call somebody else that's gonna give them that time at their dinner table to answer their calls.
And unfortunately, we kind of work on their time,
Oh yeah.
on our clients' time, not on our own.
There's no
so
doubt. No
yeah,
doubt.
it's you got to be willing to make the sacrifices, or else you're gonna get part-time results, like Fatima said.
Exactly, yeah.
So that again, to a new agent, you're starting. If you can't pick up your phone throughout the
Rule
entire
101.
day,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know
From
early you.
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or like Gus,
Yep.
Yeah.
midnight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you said it though.
Oh, yeah.
You said it best. You said
Yeah.
9 to 5, but
Yeah.
and it's fine, right?
really it's 8 to 8
It's like
or 8
9
to 9.
9.
Yeah.
Seriously,
So-
or 8 to 9.
Yeah,
Wherever
it's
you wake up.
really
I wake up
Right.
at 11. Sorry.
I know my kids are used to me.
You're 11 to
11 to
1
12.
a.m., 1 a.m.
11 to midnight. I will pick
Well,
up.
He's a night
I will
owl.
pick up.
I'm 5:30 a.m. till 9 p.m.
There
when
you
I
go.
go to bed.
Yeah.
So we're
The biggest thing like I had to grow up with my kids is understanding on weekends that I had to be out there showing houses, right? Because that's what I had to do to provide for my family. And lately I've been having the time to spend with my kids on weekends because I've grown the team and now I have a little bit more of efficiency. But starting, as a realtor, you can't have, hey, I'm not going to answer my phone at 7 o'clock because I'm going to spend family time. You can't. It's unfortunate, but it all depends on your goals, right? If you have high goals and high demands and you think you're going to get into this business and not be working 7 days a week, you're in the wrong business,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
I mean, you must mentally prepare yourself. This is my full-time job. I will be working 7 days a week. You can't take time off.
I think the important thing too is I think we've talked about this multiple times. There's no such thing as work-life balance when you're trying to grow, right?
Yeah.
So in the first two, especially for new agents, like this is my advice to new agents, is like that first 3 years, there's no work-life balance because realistically you need to focus on the work for the first 3 years so that you can then have the balance
Yeah.
after, right?
Balance, that luxury
Balance
comes
in
later
the
on.
way
Because you're
where-
developing your sphere of influence during that 3 years.
Yeah,
Your book of
absolutely. Where
business.
you
Your book of
start to get
business.
Literally what I was
referrals.
just gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now you can get referrals. You're not stressing as much on finding new business all the time because you're getting past clients referred to
Yeah.
you. So, but those first 3 years are critical. Like you need to build your brand in order to survive this business because you're just going to get left in the dust. like
And that can go
everybody
for any
else.
industry,
Yeah.
right? Like they say, when a business opens
sales,
up the first 2 years,
right?
you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
making any money.
Yeah.
It's your
So yes, if you're
make
a
or
new,
break.
yes, if you're a new agent, just make sure absolutely like full gas. All the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
What were you
There-
gonna
Yeah,
say, Billy?
I was gonna say if you're a new agent, just focus on creating relationships. Don't go out there spending tons of money on leads and stuff that's gonna wear you out because the expenses can pile up
Yeah.
very quickly. And I'd say call everybody in your phone book. That's something I didn't do when I first started. And which kind of takes me back to my point where I said about not taking things personal.
Yeah.
And losing out, or not helping somebody out that's a family
Yeah.
member or a friend. But call everybody in your phone book, talk to whomever and whoever, and just create as many relationships as possible.
Because you were mad because a lot of your family friends didn't know you were a realtor, right? And then 2 years into it, you're like, man, let me start telling them I'm a realtor. Let them show me I'm a real. Let me show them I'm a realtor. And because you've changed that mindset, now your business is coming back to you, right? Now you're getting your cousins, your friends, and they're like, wow, Billy Soap is a realtor and he's a mega agent in our industry, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's the little things that we do that we take for granted. Or your phone book is your phone book, right? These are people that you grew up with. So they're not even cold calls, they're warm calls.
That's
Definitely.
your Rolodex.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just being persistent. You know, I used to fall into that mindset where, damn, am I being annoying? Or are they gonna think because I'm a little bit newer in the business that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I don't know what I'm doing? But just don't even worry about that shit. Just, you know, like
Beep.
Yeah.
beep.
Yeah.
Just don't even worry about it. Just grind, talk to everybody, let everybody know what you do, and the results will follow 100%.
So you said, hey, don't just go buy leads, or you said, don't just go buy leads and think that's how you're going to, because if you don't have somebody to teach you what to do with those leads,
You're throwing your money away.
You're throwing your money away, right? So to me, my advice to a realtor, a new realtor, is go get a mentor.
Yeah.
Go find somebody that's going to understand your way of thinking and let him train you how to be a great realtor. So I think a mentor in this business is the key to success. I remember my mentor, I started at KW 19 years ago, and Allah Hamel, he passed away, but it was the first 3 deals, he would help me through them. And he taught me how to write a purchase agreement. He taught me how to go on a listing appointment. But I had a mentor, right? And he's the one that broke me in on how to be a good realtor. And from that point on, I understood that anybody that I bring in on my team when I became a team leader is I need to take them under my wings and teach them the basics, right? The one-on-ones. Hey, here's your lead, but what are you going to do with it?
Right. Here's your stepping stones.
Yeah, right. So it's so important that I feel a new agent should hire or work with somebody that's going to look out for their best interests.
Yeah, or build on their skills first.
100%.
Yeah,
Understand
like
them. Yes, that's
now
a great
you
point.
mentioned 19 years ago.
Yeah.
I take it that's when you were faxing stuff and just using a physical map
Pagers.
to drive to the.
We
to
were
the
printing
show.
out our mapping.
That's what
we
I
were
mean.
printing out maps
Yeah,
to figure out where
MapQuest.
we're going.
MapQuest.
MapQuest. Yeah, those
Jesus.
are the days, bro. And then if you miss a street, you're like, man, you got to go backwards.
We are so spoiled right now.
I
I'm
was just
sorry.
gonna say,
We are.
Oh, yeah.
We are so spoiled.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
It's a
I
whole
love it.
different universe,
I love
right?
it.
Yeah.
There was no MLS
I
systems.
can't imagine how much harder it used to be. Maybe that's why people say, well, we're overpaid.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah,
we got all
because they
this
started from
technology that
there.
helps us out.
Well, again, but we're paying for that. Remember,
Yeah.
you mentioned fees.
Oh yeah.
So this
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
free.
Oh, I know.
Good point.
All
Yeah,
this
good point.
costs money.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah. Yeah, we used to print out the listings and say, hey, come by and pick them up.
Yeah.
Oh
Come to my
God.
office
Or
and
you
sign
go
the
to- what did you
purchase
just mail it
agreement.
to them?
Yeah, come over and sign the
Yeah.
purchase agreement.
Yeah, you had to sign by hand and bottom line by hand. Oh,
Yeah. I had a deal with an elderly lady, real estate agent.
Yeah.
I had to take my purchase agreement to her office. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't email it to her.
Back then, it was very
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
Both parties in the same room
Yeah.
before they accept the offer.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about this, and maybe 3 weeks ago, and again, I was surprised. So I had a client in Yemen
Yeah.
while there was whatever was going on over there,
Yep.
bombings,
Yep.
whatever, right? And the title company called and said, yeah, we'll just send somebody to do his background check and just notarize it. And I said, in Yemen? And it's just wild. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking on
Yeah.
WhatsApp,
Oh yeah.
and he's signing his closings there. Like, it just blows my mind,
Yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
the client just leave the other day, just going back to California. She's like, how am I gonna sign my paperwork? I'm like, they'll send somebody to you.
To your house.
To your local coffee shop,
Yeah,
whatever.
literally.
Yeah.
They'll come
Yeah.
to your garage.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah, back in the day, that was non-existing. Like, no, you got to be here together, both parties at the same time, and you got to sign right in front of me so I can make sure that you're doing it. Nope, not anymore.
Yeah, we're blessed and spoiled.
Yeah, one way or another, but we also pay for it, Billy. I
Yeah.
agree. All right, guys. One of my last segments, my favorite one, the speed rounds, right? Fun, fast-paced questions to wrap up everything. And scream it out, say it, whatever you want, all right? There's 4 of them. Number 1, biggest deal you've ever closed.
Let's go, guys.
Yeah, I have to because I have to tease Ronnie.
Yeah.
So before it closed, And I remember doing a video on WhatsApp for you guys. I said, "Hey, Ronnie, really quick." And I'm like, just don't lie to me. You've been doing this for a while. How much? He goes, "I can't think." I said, "You know." He goes, "I think like 930." Again, I don't know if you superseded me or not. I said, "Awesome. $1 million cash right there."
Yeah.
Bam. And it was exactly
Gross
1
heel.
million gross heel.
I remember.
Turned
one
around.
Of your one pin bobbies?
No.
Okay,
It's a
got it.
doozy, right? And we
Yeah.
worked through it. Again,
Oh, yeah.
working through the kinks.
Deal fell through once.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
He circled back.
I circled back a month later, honest to God, because it was for 1.3,
Yeah.
right? Turned around, sold their house on Grosse Ile for 750,
Yeah.
and honestly, hopefully they're my clients for life.
Forever.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Nice.
What about you, Billy or Fatima?
750, I think it was.
750.
750.
Fatima.
Oh, I'm chump change right now, 410, but I'm working with the 700 right now. So hopefully,
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, hopefully next month I can say 700,000. So
All right. Second question. Worst client experience without naming any names.
I plead the fifth. We'd be here for days. Man.
Come on,
we'd
give
have
me-
to
give me
call
one,
some
guys.
Attorneys, you might have to call a few attorneys in the
No
process.
legal, no names. Come on.
No.
Worst client experience. Come on.
Honest to God, I've shown maybe 50 properties to a client.
Okay.
And at the end, they just said, "I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to look." And that's okay. But
Yeah.
but those are so 50 not in one day. It might have been a course of 3 months, you
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
So the whole
Right.
driving and
Yeah.
the gas.
I'm
and the
overwhelmed.
time,
I need time off.
it's tough.
Ghost.
Tough.
Yeah.
And then a week later you find out they bought a house from somebody else.
Now those I lose sleep on because it's like,
happens.
what did I do?
Right.
I know
happens.
it happens often.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does.
I
Billy.
mean, I'm not gonna say one specific experience happening. I'll just piggyback off Gus a little bit. It's just like, some people, at the end of the day, don't realize that this is a job for us. It's how we feed our family. It's how we put food on the table, keep a roof over the top of our heads. So I'd say that's probably the biggest, thing we got to deal with. It's just
And it's a tough
just
pill
all
to swallow.
No,
It's all,
listen,
it's all the bullshit.
I agree. I went the other day to a city that I haven't sold a house in 15 years because I was like, I'm not going to this city. I'm like, I'm going to try this one guy and I'll be there, Ronnie. Never showed up, and it's like
it's those little things that just pile
just
up.
pile up. Yeah. That's your time. That's your money.
100%.
30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, sitting in front of the house for 15 minutes, calling them 15 times,
Yeah.
ghosting, and then never,
Just-
committing.
Just
Yeah.
have that respect. Let us
Yeah.
know you're not showing up, or
Right.
no hard feelings.
Yeah,
Just,
we understand.
Yeah.
It's part of the business.
I can honestly say, right, with all my heart, that our team holds ourselves to the highest caliber.
Yeah.
Again, we don't expect that from other folks. It could be buyers, sellers. It just, the thing is, we respect people's time.
Yeah.
And again, we always talk about who we are.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to understand when you're working with the Ronnie A team, right? Like, you're not a number. Seriously, you're not.
Yeah,
Like, we
I agree.
actually care. You mentioned listening and active listening. We care to get you to that house or sell that house
Oh, yeah.
wholeheartedly in your family.
No, I agree. All right, number 4, the one thing every agent should start doing.
Okay. I know I'm talking a lot. Don't kick my butt.
No,
just
you're good.
pick up the
This-
damn phone.
Yeah.
There, see, so you took
Damn
it out of my
phone.
mouth. Okay, no, thank you. Thank you.
Answer your phone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's
Answer
it.
your phone.
But how
Absolutely.
easy? So how easy is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seriously, if you're seasoned and
Yeah.
you tell me you've been doing it for 50 years or you just started,
Oh yeah.
it is not hard. No one's that busy. Seriously, even a mega agent's not that busy.
No.
Just look at the screen, take the call. It could have been a 10-second conversation. Just don't ignore people.
Yeah.
And that goes agent to agent.
Yeah. Buyer, seller, even listing agents, right? Like they
That's
list
what I
these
mean.
houses and they complain when you finally get through to them. Oh, I got so many people calling me. Okay, but you accepted that listing. That's your job to represent your client.
And they're not
And they're not.
if they don't pick up.
No,
Yes.
exactly.
And if anything, it's always the busiest agents that actually will pick up their phone the
Yes,
quickest.
I
Because
agree. I
literally,
agree.
how you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about new agents. Back to new
Right.
agents. You're saying the seasoned ones are picking up their phones.
They're
right?
the ones picking up immediately,
love it.
as
So-
opposed
so-
to the ones that are part time or they're just,
Because they're still trying to figure out their family life,
Right.
convenience,
No, but
median.
pick up the phone, new agents. Again,
Yeah.
pick up the phone.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you're busy and you can't pick up the phone, just
Text.
text
Roundtable.
back or call back when you are free.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's literally that simple.
So I guess we're all in agreement, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing every agent should start doing
Pick
is
up your
answer
phone.
their phone.
Another thing, I'll say one more thing real quick is, unless your seller tells you otherwise, it's not your job to hold back information, right? So
I agree.
your job is to get the seller the most amount of money possible. So, You know, stop telling agents that I can't share that information with you. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm gonna go ahead on a limb here and
Yeah.
say probably 98% of sellers, if I asked them as a listing agent,
Can I share?
Can I
What-
share?
Yeah.
If they say no, my mind would be blown.
Yeah.
they rarely
Right.
do.
No.
Are
you
you
know,
serious?
no.
You don't want me to tell them that you have this and they can
Right.
beat it out?
Right.
Like, just give me the permission.
Yeah.
But yeah, 98% of them will tell me yes.
No.
Yeah.
I agree, guys. Anything else on that? What they should do?
It's great.
Yeah. So
Great feedback.
just want to finish off. Thank you guys for coming to our
Thanks for having
podcast.
us.
You know, it's always fun hanging out with you guys, and in this scenario, it's even more fun because I get to see you guys really close. You know, the biggest thing that we need to take away from this is, right, you know, consistency, right? You know, be consistent. Always answer your phones. Understand organization, and you know, if you're in this business, understand that it's not a part-time business, right? You cannot do real estate and be successful part-timer, right? And then growth, right? Growth comes over time. You're not going to sell a $500,000 home, $1 million home, $1.5 million home in 3 months, right? It's going to take time. You got to develop that sphere of influence down the line, right? And that comes with your follow-ups and everything else that you're doing, right? And then staying hungry, right? I preached that today in our team meeting, right? You have to wake up and be hungry. You have to understand, am I eating a hamburger today or a steak, right? You have to be hungry. You can't teach hungry. It's, am I going to feed my kids this or am I going to feed my kids this? Am I going to make my house payment here or am I not going to make my house payment? So it's all mental, right? So, you know, if you stay following those pathways, you will be successful in this business, right? And then mentoring shit. Get a mentor, man. Just, if you're going to get in this business, get somebody that's going to believe in you, not just put you on his team or their team as a number and just think that you're going to figure it all out, right?
Because you're not.
Because you're not.
You're not.
No. So thank you guys again. You know, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to the Ronnie A team. Please subscribe to our podcast, and we'll follow you on social media. Thank you.